So, good evening, everybody, wherever you are on the planet right now, whatever day it is or time of day it is. So we'll continue on the teachings on the easy path. We're on the section on karma, so we'll do the meditation on the Buddha like we usually do, and I'll read the requesting verse from the section on karma, and then we'll have the teachings on karma. Okay, so begin by coming back to your breath. Is it loud enough? Can everybody hear? Yeah, you're okay? Okay. So come back to your breath, let your breath and your mind settle down. Then in the space in front, visualize the Buddha made of golden light, and imagine that he is surrounded by all the direct and lineage spiritual mentors, the deities, the Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, Arhats, Dakas, Dakinis, and Dharma protectors, Arya Dharma protectors. In short, you're sitting in the presence of a vast number of holy beings. These bodies are all made of light, and they're all looking at you with acceptance and compassion. And then think your mothers on your left, your fathers on your right, all the sentient beings throughout space are all around you, and the people that you have difficulty with or you feel threatened by or don't like are in front of you, between you and the Buddha, so you have to make peace with them in some way or another if you're going to see the Buddha. And then thinking that we are leading all the sentient beings and taking refuge in generating the four immeasurables and purifying and accumulating merit through the 7 limb practice and the mandala offering, then we'll recite these prayers contemplating their meaning and thinking that everybody else is reciting them together with us. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by engaging in generosity and the other far-reaching practices, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by engaging in generosity and the other far-reaching practices, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. I take refuge until I have awakened in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merit I create by engaging in generosity and the other far-reaching practices, may I attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all sentient beings. May all sentient beings have happiness and its causes. May all sentient beings be free of suffering and its causes. May all sentient beings not be separated from sorrowless bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free of bias, attachment, and anger. Reverently I prostrate with my body, speech, and mind, and present clouds of every type of offering, actual and mentally transformed. I confess all my destructive actions accumulated since beginningless time, and rejoice in the virtues of all holy and ordinary beings. Please remain until cyclic existence ends, and turn the wheel of Dharma for sentient beings. I dedicate all the virtues of myself and others to the Great Awakening. This ground anointed with perfume, flowers strewn Mount Meru, four lands, sun and moon, imagined as a Buddha land and offered to you. May all beings enjoy this pure land. The objects of attachment, aversion, and ignorance friends, enemies, and strangers, my body, wealth, and enjoyments, I offer these to every sense of loss. Please accept them with pleasure and inspire me and others to be free from the three poisonous attitudes. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. Glorious and precious Guru, sit upon the lotus and moon seat on my crown, guiding me with your great kindness. Bestow upon me the attainments of your body, speech, and mind, the eyes through whom the vast scriptures are seen, supreme doors for the fortunate who would cross over to spiritual freedom, illuminators whose wise means vibrate with compassion to the entire line of spiritual masters and make requests. And then think that there's the Buddha sitting on top of your head also, and on top of the head of all the sentient beings around you. And as we say the Buddha's mantra, light flows from the Buddha into us, into all the sentient beings, purifying negativities and also bringing realizations of the path. Tayata Muni Muni Maha Muniya Soha. 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 Okay, so with the Buddha on the crown of your head, let's contemplate. The Conqueror's scriptures say that one, from a cause that is the practice of virtue, only the result of happiness can occur, not one of suffering. And from a cause that is non-virtuous, only a suffering result can arise, not one of happiness. 2, although one may perform only minor virtues or negativities, when either fails to encounter an obstacle, it gives rise to a result of great magnitude. So if you perform either virtue, and then 3rd, if you perform neither virtue nor negativity, you will experience neither happiness nor suffering. In other words, if the cause isn't created, the result won't be experienced. And then 4th, if the virtue or negativity performed encounters no obstacle, the action performed will not go wasted. It is certain to produce either happiness or misery. Furthermore, depending on the recipient, the support, its object, and the attitude, an action will be more or less powerful. Having generated faith based on conviction in this, may I strive to do good, starting with minor virtue, the 10 virtues and so on. And may my 3 doors of action, my body, speech, and mind, not be sullied by even the slightest non-virtue, such as the 10 non-virtues. The Guru Buddha, please inspire me to be able to do so. So make that request from deep in your heart. And in response to requesting the Guru Buddha, 5-colored light and nectar stream from all the parts of his body into you through the crown of your head. This happens to all the sentient beings around you as well. It absorbs into your mind and body and into the minds and bodies of all the sentient beings around you. And the light and nectar purifies all negativities and obscurations accumulated since beginningless time. And it especially purifies all illnesses, interferences, negativities, and obscurations that interfere with generating faith based on conviction in the law of karma and its effects. And purifies all obscurations keeping you, that prevent you from correctly producing, engaging in virtuous deeds and abstaining from negative deeds. Your body becomes translucent, the nature of light. All your good qualities, lifespan, merit, and so forth expand and increase. Think in particular that having cultivated faith in the form of conviction in karma and its effects, a superior realization of abstaining from negativities and engaging in the correct practice of virtue has arisen in your mind stream and in the mind stream of all others. Although you may strive in this manner, if due to the feebleness of your antidotes and the strength of your afflictions, you are sullied by non-virtue, do your utmost to purify it by means of the four opponent powers, and abstain from it henceforth. I think you've gained the ability to do that, to purify your negativities and abstain from them henceforth. Okay, so as I mentioned, this evening we're going to talk about what's called the 10. Sometimes it's negative, destructive, non-virtuous, unwholesome. Depends what word you want to use. Paths of action or paths of karma. Karma simply means action. Okay. And these 10 are called paths of karma or paths of action because they serve as the paths that will lead you to unfortunate rebirths. And conversely, the 10 virtuous or wholesome paths of action, are the paths leading us to fortunate rebirths. So these 10 are to be to lead to an actual rebirth, they have to have 4 branches complete. So this is really important because many times we do actions and not all the factors are complete, but so we really need, for it to be strong enough to cause a rebirth, for these 4 factors to be complete. If these 4 aren't complete, then the karma may ripen not in terms of a rebirth, but in terms of a condition that we experience during one of our lives. Okay? And so, we have the 10 non-virtuous ones and the 10 virtuous ones. When we talk about the 10 virtuous ones, there's 2 ways of talking about them. One is simply abstaining from the non-virtuous ones is a virtuous action. So simply being in a situation where you could do one of the non-virtuous ones and saying, nope, I'm not going to do it, or keeping precepts, so that all the time you're not doing that, then, just the abstention itself is a virtuous action. In addition, the 10 virtuous paths of action include thinking in the opposite way or acting in the opposite way. Okay, so for example, one of the destructive ones is killing. So not killing is a virtuous one, and protecting life is another virtuous one. Okay, protecting life being the opposite of killing. Okay. And so there's 3 that we do physically, primarily, 4 verbally, and 3 mentally. Okay, the 4 verbal ones nowadays we may also do physically, in the sense that, for example, we write emails. Yeah, so emails. are a physical action, but because it all involves communication with others, and communication is just put under the thing of verbal. Okay, so writing emails it would be a verbal virtue or non-virtue. Okay. Okay. So okay. So we're going to go through the 10, and like I said, each to be a complete action so that it's strong enough to bring a rebirth, then it has to have 4 factors, okay? First is the object that you're acting upon. It's also called the basis. The second is the complete intention. And the complete intention itself has 3 parts, okay? So the first of those is recognition of the object that you're acting on. Second is the motivation, the intention to do the action. And third, because we're talking about the non-virtuous ones, is one of the 3 poisons of, confusion, anger, or hostility being involved. So those 3 together form that second one, complete action. The third one is the actual action. I'm sorry, the second one was complete intention. Third one is the actual action. And fourth is the conclusion of the action. Okay, so we're going to go through all 10, looking at these 4, because this will really give you so much more information, so that when you start to examine your life and the kind of things you've done, you'll have more tools to actually determine if you've created a full negativity or a full virtue that's going to lead to a rebirth. So we'll be first discussing these in terms of the non-virtues. Okay? So just to list the 10, so killing, stealing, unwise and unkind sexual behavior, those are the 3 physical ones. Then lying, divisive speech, or creating disharmony, harsh words and idle talk are the 4 verbal ones. And then coveting, malice, and wrong views are the 3 mental ones. Okay, so let's start with killing. So the first one, the object, what we're acting on, is any sentient being other than ourselves. Okay, so this is already indicating to us that suicide is not going to be a complete non-virtue. That doesn't mean it's okay. Yeah. And then a second, to have the complete intention, then first we recognize the object. So whoever we want to kill, when we go to kill them, we identify the object, correctly. If you want to kill one person and you accidentally kill another one, again, it's not complete. Then the intention to kill, so you have to, have the wish to kill itself. If you only wish to harm them physically, but they die as a result of it, it's not a full action, because the intention wasn't to kill. And then one of the 3 poisons has to be involved. So this is interesting, because we usually think, killing. Of the 3 poisons, which ones you think is of when you think of killing? Anger, So that's easy to think of that. You want to harm an enemy. But we can also kill out of attachment. For example, killing an animal because we want to eat its meat, or we want its fur or its skin. And we can also kill out of confusion or ignorance. For example, doing animal sacrifice and thinking that that's a virtuous action when it's certainly not. Okay? So it's interesting there. You can see, it can be, all 3. Then the actual action of killing, it can be done, by ourselves. It can be done by asking somebody else to kill. So even if we're not the one who does it, if we ask somebody else to do it, we get the karma, the full karma of killing. It can be done by poisons, weapons, black magic, inciting others to kill, helping somebody else to commit suicide. Okay? Somebody who is a commander of troops, who orders the troops to kill, because they're ordering somebody to kill, they get the negative karma of many actions of killing, even though they may not be actually doing the killing themselves, but because they told other people to kill. Okay. And then the fourth, the conclusion, is that the other person has to die before you. If they die at the same time, or if they die after you, then it's incomplete because the karma isn't accumulated on the mind stream of the same person who did the action. It's accumulated on, the continuation of that mind stream, but not on you in this particular life. Okay? So, accidentally stepping on ants is, it's missing the intention. It's not a complete action. If you think I'm going to burn down a house, no matter who's in it, then you get the karma of killing all those people who are in it. If you think, I'll burn down the house, there won't be any human beings in it, and I don't care if the animals die, then you will get the full karma of killing the animals, but not the full karma of killing the human beings. Again, that doesn't mean it's karma-free, but just that all the branches aren't fulfilled. If we rejoice after we kill or harm somebody, then it becomes heavier. If we regret it immediately afterwards, then it really reduces the potential of that action to bring a result. Okay, so when we do this, we should, as much as possible, and best is to abstain, but if we do it, to regret it immediately afterwards. Okay? Then the second one is taking what hasn't been freely given. It's called stealing. Stealing, we don't think of ourselves as stealing, but how many times have you taken things that haven't been freely given to you? Okay? So that puts a different kind of spin on it. Yeah. And similarly, the first one was killing. Yeah. So you may say, well, what about, punching somebody or beating somebody up? It falls under that non-virtue of killing, but it's not a complete action because maybe you didn't have the intention to kill the person, or and in fact they actually didn't die. Yeah, but it falls under that kind of category, even though it's not a complete action. Okay? So then here, stealing the object, it has to be an object of value that belongs to another person that we take as our own. And so an object of value, there's different ideas about what this means. In general, it's taking something that, according to the law of wherever you're living, it would be reported to the authorities, and you could potentially be, prosecuted or have even a misdemeanor offense for taking this thing. Okay, so, taking a pencil may not be a complete action of killing, but, it has to be, of stealing, but, it has to be something of more value. But it does include taxes, like not paying taxes we're supposed to pay, or not paying fares, not paying tolls and fees that we're supposed to pay. Okay, so if these are enough so that, you could really get in trouble for it, then it would, contribute to it being a full action. But again, just because it's not a full action doesn't mean there's no detrimental effect from it. Okay? If something is owned by yourself and someone else, and you take it just for yourself, it's not a complete action because it already partly belongs to you. If somebody has lost something, but they haven't given it to you, and you take it for your own, finders, keepers, losers, weepers, then, it's taking what hasn't been freely given to us. Mm-hmm. So similarly, we'll get down to this. Okay. Then the second, the complete intention, so the first part of that is identifying the object correctly. So you steal what you intend to. Okay, if it's incomplete, if, for example, somebody gave you the article, gave you something, you forgot about it, that it was given to you, and you didn't return it. Yeah, so you didn't have the intention to kill, something like that. If you borrowed $10 and you forgot how much you borrowed, so you only repay $5, again, that's not complete because, it was, you forgot. You didn't have the intention to kill. Steal. Oh, why am I thinking? So the second part of that, just seeing if you're awake. Then, okay, so the second part of that is having that intention. And then the third is, one of the three poisons being present. So which one of the three poisons do we usually associate with taking what hasn't been freely given? Attachment, okay? So that's easy to think of. But it can also be done out of anger. For example, plundering the wealth of the enemy. Yeah, you're angry at an enemy, so you go in and you take all their stuff. It can be done out of ignorance because in some, different religions, they may think that if somebody is old, it's okay to take their things. Or maybe you think that stealing isn't negative, or you have some kind of really defiant attitude that there's nothing wrong with, cheating on your taxes because the government, it is the government taxing people to start with isn't fair, or cheating people in a business deal, thinking it's completely okay to do that. That could be a combination of confusion or ignorance and also greed. Okay, or sometimes people may think that because they are a holy person or a renunciate, it's okay for them to take things that belong to other people. Or lots of times we think, I'm working for this company, they don't pay me enough, so it's okay if I, charge my personal meals on the company's charge card, or I take things in the office and use it for my own personal thing, So stuff that actually belongs to the company, we use for ourselves without asking permission. That could be, again, ignorance and attachment involved. Then the action. Okay, so sometimes stealing is done by threatening somebody with force, through a show of power, like a robber might do. Sometimes it's by stealth. You just go in and take it. Yeah. Sometimes it's by cheating somebody, having a fraudulent transaction, using faulty weights and measurements, borrowing something and then deliberately not returning it, hoping the other person forgets about it. Yeah. Borrowing something and then thinking, well, this person should have given it to me anyway, so I'm not going to return it. We have lots of things like this, don't we? Yeah? I mean, the way we rationalize stuff can be pretty creative. And then the conclusion of the action is that we think, now this object belongs to me. Okay? So for monastics, if an offering is distributed and you take it 2 times without having the right to have more than others, then it's considered stealing. Okay? Or fining somebody in excess of what they should be fined is also stealing. Obliging somebody to give money through sweet talking to them or coercing them so that they feel obliged to give it, that's also considered stealing. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So if we steal something and then later regret it and pay the person back, it's still a completed action of stealing, but of course it's going to be not as weighty because we've paid them back for it and whatever afterwards. Okay, then the third one is unwise and unkind sexual behavior. And so I'm not going to teach this according to how it's usually taught, because it's my personal opinion that this one depends a lot on the particular culture you're in, what's considered unwise and unkind. So for example, in Tibetan culture, having a woman having more than one husband is completely okay. In, some Arab cultures, a man having more than one wife is considered okay. So I'm not going to teach it, there's that kind of cultural difference, okay? So here the object is, having sex with somebody who's celibate, somebody who is in the custody of their parents. So it would be here include, a child. Yeah, there's no kind of, break-off point, but you can reasonably think, a child or a teenager or somebody who, is naive, doesn't understand what's going on. Yeah, that would be the object. It could be. It's also if you're in a relationship, somebody outside your relationship, or even if you're single, having sex with somebody who's in another relationship. Okay? Okay. And then the second one is, so you identify the object, you have sex with whoever it is you intended to. And this is, has to be a person who you shouldn't be having sex with. So it's not including your spouse. It's not including consensual sexual relationships, But now there's a whole big discussion about what consensual means, and on college campuses, this whole thing of, yes means yes and no means no, and if you're not specific enough, then, it's not consensual. Okay? Then second, you have to have the intention to do it. And third is it's usually, unwise and unkind sexual behavior is usually done with attachment. It could be done with anger, for example, raping, the enemy's spouses or children. Here they put that under the thing of unwise and unkind sexual behavior. Modern times, many people consider that more violence in general, rather than, sexual misconduct. It's kind of both. And then ignorance would be thinking that having sex is, a very high spiritual practice, or thinking that it's very chic to have extramarital affairs, and that it's completely okay, as long as nobody finds out, that kind of attitude. And then the action, the complete action, is having sexual intercourse. And that's the action. And then the completion of the action is having some feeling of pleasure from it. Okay? This is one action that, of the 7 non-virtues of body and speech. The other 6, if you tell somebody else to do, it can be a complete action that you accumulate the karma for. This one, telling somebody else to have sex with somebody, won't be a complete one because this last thing of your having delight in it isn't fulfilled. Okay? Nowadays, in here they never talk anything about, for example, STDs. And nowadays that's a big topic, it's a big issue. So I would include in this, having unprotected sex. So if there's, if you know that you carry something, not having protected sex, or even if you don't think you have something, and you're not sure, and you haven't discussed it with the partner or whatever, so something where you could pass on an STD to another person, that would definitely fall under unwise and unkind sexual behavior. Also, I think using a person just for your own sexual pleasure, and this is very touchy, because in one way you could say, well, it's consensual, they consented, but in another way, if you know they have a different motivation than you do, maybe your motivation is just the pleasure, and you know that they're developing some fondness for you and some emotional affection, but you don't have any of that for them, and you just want the sexual pleasure, and you don't care if they're getting attached to you and they get hurt because of it, to me that's unkind. Yeah, I would consider that unkind sexual behavior. This idea of if it feels good, do it, and if nobody finds out about it, it's okay. I don't think that's a very good rationale. You can ask John Edwards, Bill Clinton, and a number of other politicians what they think about this. I hope most of them have learned their lesson. Who was it? There's somebody who recently got somebody whose lover was in Argentina. Was it the governor of Virginia, or governor of South Carolina? Yeah, that's where it was. Yeah, governor of South Carolina. So, and that he went to Argentina to see his lover, and his staff was telling people he was walking the Appalachia Trail. That's a good one, isn't it? Yeah. Okay, so, these kinds of things where you're going to cause havoc in your own relationship, cause havoc in somebody else's relationship. Lots of times people think, well, nobody else will find out. But I can't tell you the number of people who come to me and say, when I was a kid, I knew mom or dad, whoever it was having an affair. Yeah, so, you think your kids don't know, but your kids know. So it just really kind of makes a mess in relationships. Yeah. So don't follow my generation's lead on that. Okay, then the fourth one is lying. Okay, so this is denying something that we know is true, or claiming as true something that we know isn't true. So it's knowingly misleading others by giving wrong information to them, purposely giving people bad advice because we want to harm them, or giving them wrong teachings because we're jealous, don't want them to know and become a better teacher than us, inventing faults to slander others, and of course, our favorite, little white lies. All of these are included in lying. So the object is a human being other than yourself who is capable of understanding in human speech when you lie. Okay? So the heaviest objects we lie to, of course, are bodhisattvas, our spiritual mentors, and our parents. Okay? So bodhisattvas and spiritual mentors, because they are objects of refuge and who guide us on the path, and our parents because of their kindness. Yeah, how many of us have not lied to our parents? Yeah? So, so that's the object. So if you lie to your cat, or you lie to somebody who doesn't understand the language you're talking into, it's not a full action. Yeah. So we could say, Maitri, I'll give you 3 cans of cat food tonight, and it'll be completely okay. No, that just means it's not a complete action. Doesn't mean it's okay. Maitri and Karuna will still, they'll know. 3 cans of cat food? Mm-hmm. Pay up. Okay, so then the second part, having the intention, the complete intention. So recognizing that what you're about to say doesn't accord with the truth. Yeah, so you clearly realize what you're going to say is not true, and that you've purposely altered the truth. And then second part of that is you intend to distort the truth. And then third is the 3, one of the 3 poisons. So which do you think of the 3 poisons? Which one do you think is usually involved with lying? Very often attachment, isn't it? Yeah, we want something, or we want to protect our reputation. Yeah. It can also be out of anger. We want to deceive our enemies. We want to ruin somebody's reputation, so we're angry at them, so we make up lies about them, or we're really angry at somebody, and at work we're jealous of somebody at work. We want them to make a mistake, so we give them wrong information so that they make a mistake. And then ignorance would be, for example, thinking that it's really amusing to lie, or that there's nothing wrong with lying. Okay. And I've always marveled, because I've lived in a number of different cultures, that different cultures have different definitions of lying, And in Tibetan culture and in Chinese culture, very often saying yes, that you'll do something, even though you have no intention of doing it, is not considered a lie, is it? Yeah? I mean, it's people, it's considered good manners, You don't want to disappoint somebody. You don't want to ruin somebody's reputation. You don't want to hurt their feelings. Yeah? And so that's not considered lying in those cultures. But in our culture, those things, even with those motivations, is definitely considered lying, isn't it? Yeah? So somebody calls on the phone, and a family member answers, and you don't want to talk to that person. You say, tell them I'm not home. Nowadays, people don't have the opportunity to lie like that so much, but they just rather don't answer their phone or text back, and then they lie directly, saying, my phone was turned off, even though it wasn't, and they got the text, and But, a lot of these little white lies, I really don't understand why people do them. It's so, my feelings wouldn't be hurt. If somebody says, sorry, I can't meet you on that day, I have another plan, or somebody says, this isn't a good time for me to talk, I don't feel, I'm fine, just tell me the truth and it's okay. This thing about lying like that really puzzles me, because when I find out about it afterwards, these little white lies, then it really makes me lose faith in the other person. Yeah. Okay. So then so we went through the three motivations. Then the actual action, it can be with words or gestures or in writing. Okay? So the worst kind of lie is lying about spiritual attainments. And that's the worst kind of lie, because people get the wrong idea about you and think you have spiritual realizations or spiritual powers that you don't have, and it's very, very detrimental for other people. Yeah, so we should never ever lie about our spiritual capacities. Sometimes, lying is just for our own well-being. Sometimes it's to harm others. Sometimes we type it. Sometimes we speak it. Sometimes we make a gesture. Sometimes we just think it's humorous to lie. I notice with some of my teachers, often when they're joking, they will say something and then they'll clarify afterwards, joking. Yeah, because sometimes it happens that you're joking and the other person doesn't realize it, and they take it seriously and they get really offended and really hurt. So, if we're joking, we need to be careful. If what we're saying is not true in a joke, that either we clarify, oh, I'm joking, or it's like so completely obvious and you can tell by the other person's expression that they understand that you're joking and they don't take it seriously. The completion of the action is that the other person understands you and they believe you. If they don't believe you, or if they don't understand what you're saying, then it becomes idle talk rather than lying. But again, I really wonder sometimes why people lie, because, and many of you have heard me say this, if somebody lies to me, I think, they don't trust me to be able to handle the truth? Somebody pointed out that actually they're not trusting themselves to be able to handle the truth, But I've had people lie to me about different things, and then I find out afterwards, and it's like, hey, you could have told me the truth. I can handle knowing this. You don't need to cover it up. So I often don't understand why people lie. Yeah, and it creates also, when there's lying, there's always double trouble, because there's the initial action you did, then there's the lie you told. Yeah. So, our politicians know about this. I mean, you look at, I wonder what would have happened if Bill Clinton had said, yes, I had sex with that woman. I mean, how many millions of dollars the country would have saved. But I mean, nobody would have, this was the one scandal everybody could understand. It was like public amusement. Because I remember it was going on, I was doing a 3-month retreat, so before I entered retreat, this was going on. When I came out after retreat, it was still going on. And it's like, and I wonder what would happen if he said, yes, I had sex with that woman. I'm sorry, it was a stupid thing to do. What? They would have, I don't think you can impeach somebody for having sex like that. No, it has to be, what? Yeah, right. Yeah. Right. The impeachment was because of the lie, wasn't it? Right. Yeah. So it's, the lying always creates so much more problem, There's the initial action, and then there's perjury when you lie on the stand, isn't there? And you get charged for that. So, I don't know. I think it's very interesting. I mean, spend some time on this during retreat. It might even be good to have a discussion group on it. And just think, look back at your lives and like, why did I lie? What did I think I was going to get out of lying? Yeah? Or what did I think I would not get because I didn't, because I lied? Yeah? Okay, now somebody's going to say, okay, well, what happens if somebody comes up here and there's a hunter with a rifle and says, where did the deer go? I want to kill him. Or, where did so-and-so go? I'm really angry and I want to kill him. And, clearly you don't say, well, just over there. I mean, come on. You protect life as much as you can. So lying here, refers to you're getting some personal gain out of it. In many situations, you can just change the topic. Yeah? Or you say something that makes nonsense. Or you do something else in order to protect somebody else. If clearly, somebody wants to harm them. Huh? Huh? Okay. Then the next one, the fifth one, is divisive speech. So this is separating others by speaking the truth or by lying, and causing disunity and bad feelings amongst other people. So here, the object are people who are friendly with each other, and you want to get them so they're not friendly. Maybe you're jealous, of their friendship, or, your partner is friendly with somebody else. You don't like that. You're jealous, so you want to separate them. Or it could be two people who are already not on good terms, and you want to make sure they don't reconcile. So you, the heaviest here is causing division in the Sangha community, or division between a teacher and a student. Okay? A spiritual teacher and a disciple. Okay, then the second one, the complete intention. So recognizing the parties involved, that you want to cause, division and disharmony between these two people or these two groups. Then having the intention to destroy their friendship, to stir up trouble, to cause disunity. Yeah. If you don't have that intention to cause problems between the people, but your speech has that effect, but you don't have that intention, then it's idle talk. It's not, divisive speech. Okay. Then, which of the three poisons do you usually associate with this one? Usually anger, you're mad at somebody. And this we have to be very careful about. We're mad at somebody, so we want other people on our side. So you're in an office, you're mad at somebody, I'm going to talk to the other people in the office about how bad so-and-so is and what so-and-so did, because then all these people will be on my side against so-and-so. Okay? So we're deliberately trying to create disharmony. Sometimes we're not trying to create disharmony, we're more venting. It's like I'm really upset about something and I just want to, blah and criticize somebody. You'll never guess what this person did. I'm so fed up. But we have to check, are we venting, or is there part of our mind that wants the other person to join in with us and think poorly? Because lots of times, who do we vent to? Our friends. And what do we expect of our friends? They're supposed to side with me. So I vent to them, and there is I'm venting, but I also want them to think poorly of this other person and be on my side. Yeah, so that's not so good. It just creates a lot of, division amongst people, and people feeling bad about other people, and mistrust, and so on. Sometimes if you're really upset and you need to talk to somebody, you need to say, look, I know I'm venting, so please don't think badly of the other person, but I just need to vent for a minute, and then maybe you can help me, learn to handle my anger. Yeah. So there, if you really clarify, hey, I need to vent. Yeah. Don't think poorly of the other person. It's not going to be as strong. Yeah. But if you're really trying to turn somebody else's opinion, against the other person. So this can be dangerous. It happens in offices, it happens in families, happens in monasteries, and you can do it by telling the truth or by lying. So you might think, well, I'm just telling the truth by saying what this person did. But if your intention is, I want to get them in trouble, and I want everybody else not to like them, that's not so good. If your intention is, there is a problem here and I need to bring it to the attention of the boss or the community, so I'm bringing it up, then it's not divisive speech, because your intention is to solve a problem. Okay? Venting, yeah, you mean when you're venting or somebody's venting? But venting is divisive speech. Unless you qualify that beforehand with, look, I know I'm angry and I'm owning my anger, but I just need a chance to say something right now and have somebody hear it, but I know I'm angry and don't think badly of the other person. I just need to, get this off my chest. Okay? Okay, so it can also be done, it's usually done out of anger, kind of dividing people because you want something, out of jealousy, or it can be out of attachment. Yeah, there's a couple and you want to have a relationship with one member of the couple, so you lie to the other, or you badmouth the other members, so to cause division, so that then that person will become good friends with you. We do that one too, don't we? Out of attachment. Yeah. And then out of ignorance, it could be, thinking that we're going to cause disunity among people in a certain group because we want, because we think that somehow we're helping them, even though we're not helping them. Yeah. Okay, then the actual action, is causing disunity among friends, or preventing people who aren't getting along from reconciling. Okay, so it's, if we know that saying something true is going to cause one person to have bad feelings for another, then unless our motivation is something positive to help one of the people involved, or to bring to light a difficulty in a group, then we shouldn't just say, well, I'm just telling the truth about so-and-so, and I just want everybody to know, but my actual intention is because I want to ruin that person's reputation. Yeah. So this can often happen out of jealousy, can't it? We're jealous of somebody has something that we wish we had, and we don't want them to have it, so we tell other people bad things about them so that they'll think bad, and then thinking that, well, then that person's out of the way. Now the person whose attention I want will pay attention to me, or they'll give something to me, or whatever it is. Okay? So, Okay, so causing disunity can be done by a forceful expression of something, you're just blurted out. Sometimes it's done in a calm voice, but your intention is really nasty. Okay, sometimes you go behind somebody else's back and you tell this person something nasty about that person. Or sometimes you can actually do it even like in a meeting. There could be a meeting at work or a meeting between people, and you just say something nasty about somebody to get everybody to turn. So it doesn't have to be behind their back. It could be also in the presence of that person. You can do it by, so-and-so said this about, this person said something about that person. So maybe this person's venting about what that person did, but you're thinking, it would really benefit me if they didn't get along so well. So then you take what this person told you when they were venting and you go to that person and say, do you know what so-and-so said about you? Yeah, they said, blah, 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 blah. And I'm your real good friend who's telling you that. Yeah, so that you'll know that that person's a nasty person. Yeah. But your intention is to cause division. Okay? If your intention is that there's been some misunderstanding between people and it needs to be corrected, then you might go to somebody else and say, oh, I heard so-and-so say this. I know it's not true. I think it's good if you go and talk with them so that there isn't a misunderstanding. Then you're actually trying to create harmony, not disharmony. Okay, and then the completion of the action is, again, other people understand what you're saying and they believe it. Then 6, this harsh words and abusive language. So this includes sarcasms, jokes intended to hurt other people, insulting people, ridiculing them, swearing, making fun of them, picking at them, anything that is going to hurt somebody else's feelings. Yeah? So calling people names, joking about something that they're sensitive about, anything like this. Screaming at somebody because they did something you don't like. Okay, so the object is a sentient being who's hurt by our words. Yeah. It could actually be a physical object, that we're just so mad at the weather. I'm so mad at my computer, I could throw it across the room, So you're saying harsh words to your computer. Your computer doesn't understand, so it's not a complete action. Yeah, but it's like, yeah, beep, 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 this computer isn't working just when I'm in a hurry. Ah. Okay. Okay. The heaviest is harsh words towards your spiritual teacher. Okay. And then the second part, the complete intention, is first you recognize that the person that you want to hurt, and I want to hurt so-and-so's feelings, and then you go for it. Okay? And then you intend to speak those words, you intend to hurt their feelings, or you intend to humiliate them, you intend to make them feel inferior, you intend to offend them. Yeah. So this clearly is not talking about situations where we have no intention to offend somebody, but they get offended. Or we have no intention of making somebody feel left out, but they feel left out. Yeah. So here you have to have that intention. Okay. So which of the 3 poisons usually is this one with? Anger. Okay. It can also be done by attachment. For example, you're with a certain group of people and you want to be accepted by that group of people, so you join in making fun of so-and-so. Yeah? We usually attribute this behavior to teenagers. Unfortunately, as adults, we're still teenagers. And we do it too. You want to be accepted by a group of people at work or whoever, so you join in making somebody a scapegoat, yeah, in making fun of somebody, teasing them, hurting their feelings. And it's done out of attachment because we want to fit in with this group of people. Okay? It can also be done by ignorance. For example, thinking that we're being very clever. Look how clever I am. I can give all these insults with such wit. Yeah. Okay. So that can be the motivation. Then third, the action itself. So it could be speaking the words. And again, it can be true words. It can be not true words. So this action can be both harsh words and lying, or it could be just one or just the other. So sometimes we do it face to face. I want to humiliate somebody, so I scold them in front of a group. Or I want to humiliate them, so I call them names in front of a group. Or we're having a meeting, and I want to really point out, I want to hurt somebody's feelings by pointing out the mistake they made. So I point that out at the meeting in front of everybody so that this person feels quite embarrassed. So there's many ways to have harsh words. Another thing about ignorance. Ignorance is the motivation. Could be the way we tease children. Because we think it's so cute as adults to make fun of kids. Yeah. Oh, look, Johnny still believes in the boogeyman. Yeah. Johnny's still peeing in his pants. And, kind of thinking that it's so cute to embarrass a child or to ridicule a child, when it actually really deeply hurts their feelings. Yeah. Okay, and then here too, the completion is the other person understands what we say and believes that you mean it. Okay, so the action isn't complete if you're screaming at your car or your computer or some inanimate object. Yeah. Unless Siri talks back to you. And maybe Siri says, "Do not scream at me." Okay, then the seventh one is idle talk. So this one is a huge obstacle to spiritual practice. So that's why the retreat is going to be a silent retreat, because some of our talk, like we'll have a discussion session, and that will be really valuable because we're talking about something meaningful. But so often our talk is just idle talk, So you come to a retreat, you don't know anybody, so you start talking about, here's my identity, here's what I like, here's what I don't like, here's what I do as my occupation, blah, blah, creating an identity, amusing people, showing people how smart we are, how witty, how humorous we are, bolstering our ego, basically. And it becomes a huge distraction when you're trying to develop a spiritual practice, because we can waste hours and hours in idle talk. Okay, so so the object is something that has no real meaning or importance, but you treat it as if it were very meaningful and very important. Yeah, and then the second, the intention is you actually think that this is very meaningful and important. Okay. So actually here with this one, you can complete this one by talking to yourself. Yeah. Unlike the other non-virtues of speech, that you have to have another person you're talking to, you can do this one to yourself. Then you have to have the intention to chatter because of carelessness. Okay, and what affliction is usually associated? Huh? Very often ignorance. We just feel there's nothing wrong with it. Sometimes it's attachment because we just want to make ourselves look good. Sometimes it's anger because we want to disturb somebody to prevent them from accomplishing something. Yeah, we're mad at somebody. We want to obstruct them, by just chattering to them. So the action itself is unnecessarily speaking words. So here, I think our motivation is very important because very clearly, it doesn't mean every conversation you have with somebody has to be something of great meaning and importance. Because sometimes at work you're chit-chatting with people, yeah, or you chit-chat when, at the grocery store or at the bank or wherever you're going with people, because it creates a good, friendly relationship. That's not considered idle talk. As long as you have in your mind, you clearly know what you're doing. I'm talking out of friendliness because I want to be friendly and make this person feel good and help to show this person, establish some connection with them. Okay, so with people at work, you chit-chat about this or that, or, strangers, or, you're on the phone when you have to call somebody and ask them a question. You call Amazon to return a book you don't like, and instead of scolding them, you try and say, thank you very much for helping me, and, and how are you? What country are you in? Yeah. Yeah, whenever I have to call for assistance with the computer, I find that very interesting. Yeah, where are you from? Yeah. So, okay, so there, I wouldn't call that idle talk because you're doing it for a purpose, But here we're talking about, just blah-blahing for the sake of blah-blahing, okay? So it could be things that are true. It could be things that are not true. So it could be sometimes, telling myths, telling legends, praying for terrible things to happen to people, reading, erroneous texts out loud to give people wrong ideas and distorted views. So it could be something like that. It could be worldly stories, Guess what? So-and-so did, So just gossiping, joking. Again, if you're doing it for a purpose and you're clear about that, it's not idle talk. But otherwise, it's just gossip, joke, talking about politics, talking about... you can have a serious conversation about politics and you can have a dumb conversation about politics. Talking about sales and, where's the cheapest place to buy this kind of this and that, and spending hours. You know what people do? Spend a long time talking about? Food. Yeah? What did you eat last night? How did you make it? Where did you go to eat? What are we going to order? Have you ever noticed when people go out to eat, they spend an incredible amount of time talking about what to order? Yeah? I don't think it's just my family. Even when they're going to do a takeout, you have to start the ordering a half an hour before you intend to place the order. What are you going to have? What are you going to have? Maybe you want to do it. I had this last time. It wasn't so good, but I feel like having this. I wonder if we can have this, but without that. ingredient in it. And last time I asked about it, but I don't know if you feel like doing it. And this restaurant is actually better, so maybe we should get a takeout from that restaurant. And, how much are we going to order? Because maybe we want to go have chocolate-covered bananas afterwards. And, hours talking about food. Yeah. Okay, it can also be bickering. Yeah, speaking behind somebody's back, being argumentative. Lots of times people get a big kick out of bickering. People have been married a long time. That's how they communicate. They just bicker. Yeah. That is just a habit, isn't it? Bicker, how do you bicker? Like argue, but over petty things, very stupid things, So instead of being polite to each other, it's like just picking at each other. Yeah, picking at each other. And so this also could be speaking behind somebody's back, being argumentative, reciting prayers and liturgies from other religions. Yeah, that can be idle talk if you're saying something you don't believe in and it's not for a good reason. Repeating jingles and slogans. This happens a lot in our meditation, actually. One person came here who did a 3-year retreat. She was telling me that all these jingles that, from commercials that when she was a little kid came up, the ants are marching 2 by 2. What is it? Hooray, hooray. And oh yeah, horse is a horse, of course. And, all these kinds of things. Yeah, that now I just seated you for something. Okay, what other ones you remember? Yeah, Mickey Mouse, M-I-C-K-E-Y. Yeah, okay. So it also idle talk can also be complaining and grumbling. Oh, yeah, look what I have to do today. Look what I have to do. This person, they're bugging me again. They're on my back against this. I didn't do my chore. I'm only 3 weeks late. Why are they complaining about it again? They need to do their chores on time too. Again and again. Or, who's this person? Why are they reminding me to do my chore? I did it 5 weeks ago. It's okay. This is perfectly clean. There's just a little bit of dirt. Well, maybe not a little bit. But now the road has changed, so actually it's somebody else's job to clean. So they should go complain to that person who's now on the road. Okay. So it could be joking, being silly, singing, humming, whistling for no reason. Yeah. So speaking like a drunk or a crazy person, speaking stupidly, talking in connection with the 5 wrong livelihoods, hinting at people to give you something, flattering people so they'll give you something. Yeah, this kind of talk. Telling stories and gossiping about government leaders, celebrities, what is written in People magazine. Yeah. It's the only magazine available when you go to the doctor. You could take one of your Buddhist books with you. Oh, I forgot it. Yeah. Talking about wars, talking about crime when we're unable to affect or improve the situation. Just being a busybody. Yeah, talking about what everybody else is doing. And then, okay, so it can be any of that. And then the completion is actually expressing the words out loud, and somebody this one, somebody doesn't even have to understand you, because you're the most serious, thing of idle talk is just distracting somebody who's practicing the Dharma. Yeah. So we don't do that, do we? We don't go to somebody and tell them our problem for 3 hours, Sometimes, one of my teachers, there's no time limit on, appointments. I think people go in and they just talk and talk and talk and talk, and at the end he goes, then? Meaning, so what? But, we all know what it's like to be with somebody who just yaks when we would rather be doing something else. But we never think of ourselves as that person who yaks, and disrupts somebody else's time. Okay, so I want to leave a little bit of time for Q&A. There's still 3 more. We'll do the next 3 next Friday. Okay. Questions, comments? Okay, so what's the impact of my behavior of doing all these actions, even if they don't seem initially terribly serious ones? If they're things that are complete actions, and we've had a strong motivation doing them, or we've done them many times, or we've done them in relationship to, our parents or our spiritual teachers or the poor and the needy, something like that, then the potential of the action to bring a rebirth gets increased. We'll talk about the results later on, but in general, full, complete actions bring a maturation result, which is the rebirth you take. They bring a result that is concordant with the cause. So that has 2 branches. One is you have a tendency to do the same action again. The other part of that is whatever you did to somebody else, there's the tendency for somebody else now to do to you. And then it also ripens in the environment that you're living in. Okay? So all these things influence what we experience in our life. Yeah, we're always kind of going, well, why does this happen to me? And the basic thing, is just I created the cause. Yeah? And if it's something unpleasant, we did something that's some way related to one of these 10. If we are having a happy result, we did something related to the opposite of them. Yeah? So knowing about this is very helpful, because this way we can create our future now depending on what we say and do and think. Yeah, so if we don't want to have suffering in the future, stop doing the things that create the cause of suffering. And if we want to have happiness in the future, start doing the things that create the causes for that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so somebody's terminally ill. They do want to kill themselves. Okay. They're not asking you to help them, but they're asking you to sit with them during the dying process. Yeah. If you feel, it's a difficult thing, because on one hand, you're not directly killing them. On the other hand, would they do that action if you weren't there? Yeah. So it's not like you have a motivation to kill them. Certainly not. Yeah. I think in that kind of situation, instead of getting into the technicalities about karma, if you don't feel comfortable being with somebody while they're killing themselves, then you say, I'm really sorry, I don't feel comfortable being with you when you do this. It would be very, very difficult for me to sit there and watch you do this. Yeah, I couldn't do it with a clear conscience, or I couldn't do it with a peaceful mind. Yeah. Other questions? Comments? Yes, idle talk is very expensive. Yeah. And we do a lot of it. Mm? So what are you doing exactly? Just idle talk, mostly, and goofing off, or? Oh, just out loud you're going da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah. It's a good thing to become mindful of that, because the people around you may not want to be hearing that. Yeah? So in the meditation hall, if somebody pokes you, you might be going da-da-da-da-da and not be aware of it. Yeah. Yeah. It's helpful just to even become aware of that stuff, to also become aware of, when things are going round and round in our mind, we're humming or chanting things. It's not necessarily super negative, but our mind is just filled with blah blah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, this is, verbally talking to yourself. It's not thinking about things. But, yeah, we do talk to ourselves. Yeah. Yeah. Uh-huh. So if a patient, terminally ill patient, requests euthanasia, and the doctor does that, is it negative karma? Yes. Yeah. Actually, what's quite interesting is, in our monastic precepts, the precept to abandon killing, which is one of the root precepts, the situation was some people asking others to kill them. Yeah. And so even if it's that kind of situation, killing it's still, for a monastic to do that, it's a defeat. It's a negative action to do that. Of course it's different than killing somebody out of anger, but, it's still killing. Mm-hmm. Yeah? So euthanizing pets? Yeah, when we euthanize pets, why do we do it? We say it's to put them out of suffering, but if we don't know where they're going to be reborn, yeah, usually it's because we can't stand to see their suffering. So it's to end our suffering. Yeah. We've had 2 cats here die. Both of them died during retreats. And the thought never entered our minds to euthanize them. Somebody mentioned afterwards, about that. And I was so surprised because it never even came into my mind. Yeah. And and they died with everybody in the retreat around. And knowing and saying prayers out loud and praying for them and everything. Yeah. Mm-hmm. 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 Well, not exactly. If you have the intention to harm somebody, and that person's practicing the Dharma so their feelings don't get hurt, I still think it's a complete action because you have that intention and you want to do it. The other person is protecting themselves by not getting hurt. But the main thing in doing actions is your intention, not the other person's response. Because if we steal from somebody, even if the other person hears about that and then gives us the object, it's still, we created the negative action of stealing. Yeah? Unless they give it to us before we consider it ours. But even if it's afterwards. The main thing is coming from us. Yeah. I mean, in terms of killing, yes, it has to be the other person dying before us. Yeah. So in something like that, there's something. But, yeah. Main thing is us, our mind. Mm-hmm. Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. Because they always talk about, for example, getting angry and criticizing a bodhisattva or insulting a bodhisattva. So bodhisattva from their side is not going to get offended or angry. But boy, we sure create a ton of negative karma from that. Uh-huh. Have they died or not died? And are you talking about yourself trying to kill somebody? Yeah? Okay. I mean, think about that yourself. I think somebody can answer that themselves. Anything else? Okay, then we'll dedicate. So I think you have something to meditate on this week. And then we'll get into the 3 speech ones next week. Mental. Thank you. Spiritual teachers who lead me on the sacred path, and all spiritual friends who practice it have long life. May I pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances. Grant such inspiration, I pray. May the lives of the venerable spiritual mentors be stable, and their virtuous actions spread in the 10 directions. May the light of Losang's teachings dispelling the darkness of the beings in the three worlds always increase. Duratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. Due to this merit may we soon attain the awakened state of Guru Buddha, that we may be able to liberate all sentient beings from their suffering. May the precious Bodhi mind not yet born arise and grow. May that born have no decline, but increase forevermore. In the snowy mountain pure land, you're the source of good and happiness. Powerful Tenzin Gyatso Chenrezig, may you stay until samsara ends. May the deeds of explaining and practicing the Dharma, done by groups supporting the teachings and their upholders, who spread the view of dependent arising and non-violent actions in the 10 directions, and especially at Sravasti Abbey in the West. Glory.